Testing. Good.
Testing. 5, 4. Oh, nice.
It reminded me of Family Guy. Yeah.
Peter.
Those are all him, huh?
Who is that one?
That's all Seth.
No, the guy who does the Joe in the wheelchair is that guy who does the same voice.
And then Meg is that one actress.
Oh yeah, she's pretty.
Yeah. What's her name? She's dating that one guy from Punk'd, Ashton Kutcher.
Mila Kunis.
Yeah. You beat me.
Mildly try.
Yeah. Not mildly.
Wait.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Oh. Welcome to Punchie TV.
Welcome to Punchie TV with your hosts.
Welcome to Punchie TV. I am Punchie with your host, Punchie, from JesseLeePeterson.com show. Oh, Joel Friday, the host of the... What am I saying about you? The American Anchor Baby. The host of the American Anchor Baby show. James Hake, a host of the Hake Report. Welcome to Punchie TV. Punchie.
First question I have is for you guys and the audience is, what is narcissism? Help me understand what narcissism is, because it's going to make sense a little bit with the clips. Yeah.
Selfishness.
Oh.
A lot of caring about themselves, all about you.
And people who are described as narcissists are extremely selfish. Or you can catch them being selfish. Or they're sneaky, and then you realize, whoa, they're actually being selfish. They're manipulating it to be all about them.
There was a god, there was a Greek god or something like that, Narcissus, and his whole thing was about looking at his own reflection all day. He'd spend all day looking at his reflection, being fed grapes and stuff.
Oh, really?
Dang.
So, is it? Can it be a good thing, or no?
I've never heard it called anything good.
It's always like,
but there was a god, and I think Narcissus was like kind of dope. I think all the gods were like, they have like a dope side and the evil side.
Right.
So I don't know. Well, he's a Greek
JLP interviewed somebody 10, maybe 15 years ago from the website, or talked about it, daughtersofnarcissisticmothers.com.
Ooh.
And so.
So there's the
evil
answer.
Mothers.
Yeah.
website.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Nice.
mother makes everything about her. Like, keeps the children around her.
Oh, okay. So narcissism is defined widely in the negative
Yes.
way.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, there's this guy named Steven Bartlett. Maybe Bartlett has 2 T's, but I think it's Bartlett. And he's a British entrepreneur and investor, and also a host of a podcast called The Diary of a CEO. Are you guys familiar? Yeah? No?
Fresh to me.
The name sort of sounds familiar, but those are both common names.
Well, he sits down and interviews Robert Greene on his podcast, and they talk about like identity, emotions, narcissism, and stuff like that. And Robert Greene is an author. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Robert Greene, but he's an author, American author.
I don't read.
With books on strategy and philosophy. I don't read either.
I only read the Bible.
I read the cereal boxes.
I know.
The back of the cereal box.
I never read.
I read chat.
But I've read a few. I've read a few, like maybe 3 books, maybe 4 in my whole life.
Nice.
But I read one of his books called Mastery, and I read it all the way through, and it's a long book, rare that I would get through a whole book. But this one I read all the way through, and it was really good. He's the author of that book and many others. This first clip is where Robert Greene talks about the importance of appearance, and I want to see what you guys in the audience think about that.
And appearances matter. It's the animal part of our nature. We judge people by how they appear, how they dress, their tone of voice, their body language, et cetera, et cetera. It would be, in an ideal world, we wouldn't judge people by appearances. We would just judge them by what's inside of them. Yes, I agree with that. But that we're not ideal. We're not descended from angels. We're descended from primates. So you have to understand that appearances matter. And this is part of the game. And so you have to control your appearances a little bit. You have to tailor it. You have to be a bit of actor in this world, on and on and on.
Nice.
So
I disavow the primates comment.
I don't, he's basically saying that appearances matter in a perfect world. Then we can just look at the inside of a person and appreciate it and go after them because that's where the true beauty lies, right? But he says in reality, appearances matter. And I want to see what you guys think. Is he right about that? Do appearances matter to some degree or what?
He's definitely right. They definitely matter. They're a reflection of what's inside oftentimes. Even if you're like too pretty, like it's a reflection of you being too into it, potentially. And people are always judging you and misjudging you or rightly judging you. And you don't even, to a level that you don't even know what you're giving off. You know, people catch on to stuff that you have no idea, but it's true.
So you're saying that the outside is reflecting the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
a little
interesting.
Bit, sort of. Yeah.
It's all pertinent information. They say don't judge a book by its cover. They say appearances can be deceiving, but in all those cases, you're still perceiving. You're not ignoring the perception. You're not ignoring the appearance. It's all has its place. It's all pertinent info. Yeah.
For example, clean your room. Or if your room is a mess, or if you're outside at a homeless bum, those tell you things about how you've been living, or tell people things about how you've been living and how the state of your mind and what's important to you or whatever.
So what is pertinent?
That it matters.
Yeah.
Like he said, it matters. He's not saying he didn't make a claim on what you should do with that info, but it just simply matters, right?
Interesting. You know, I was thinking it's true what you're saying too about the outside reflecting the inside to some extent.
Yeah.
There's definitely like you can kind of see on their face if they're what they're about for the most part if you're paying attention or observing. But I also think in a false way it matters too because the only reason why we get together in the first place is because we have some type of false attraction to them anyway.
Yeah.
So she's gonna have to be somewhat attracted to you or him attracted to her to some degree, or that little pretending that it's all because she's nice is gonna get old.
I don't even know if it'll get old. It's just like a false righteousness, and then and then you're gonna be like, oh, I'm miserable.
Yeah,
because that selfish, that phony pretending to be unconcerned with the outside is gonna go away.
Like people get together for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah. So
they're probably all shallow, but appearances aren't the truth. Appearances just matter.
Right.
It's kind of like skipping ahead, because eventually you are supposed to overcome the appearances, and you're gonna get, if you live long enough, you're gonna get older and uglier and whatever. And a lot of times, people, because they're ugly, or because they can't get the pretty girl, or because they're desperate, people will, because they're miserable and they're judging by appearance, they just want to throw it away and say, oh, it doesn't matter anyway. Intellectually embrace that without really suffering through the pain of the vanity, because you don't want to take care of yourself, or you don't think you can get a pretty girl.
To overcome that would be to overcome sensuality and sense itself and attraction itself. But it's funny too to deny what you see, to deny appearance, to try and isolate it like that. It's a funny thing because it almost implies, how do I put this? You don't have anything but that when dealing with people and that and everything outside of you.
Yeah.
It's all just a shadow and echo of something else, and you're doing your best with that information, but it's like missing something, You really only have appearances when you're trying to get to know. So you only have what's being appeared. So it could be a deception. It could be many things. So you have this veil between people that you can't get past. It's like the only way of like quantum tunneling through that is you see stuff in yourself and you're able to match stuff. Like, I recognize that on a way deeper level because I see it. I've seen it inside.
I feel like, you guys let me know if, you agree or disagree, but I feel like when you are working on the inside and like genuinely just trying to be better and whatever, that there's a beauty that comes naturally. So there is, to me, it doesn't seem real to say I'm gonna just focus on my personality and my looks don't matter, because if you really are focusing on yourself, then there is like a prettiness that comes about in general. So I can't picture just this like unattractive person really working on themselves, because
if you're ugly, you have anger.
Yeah. You're lying. You're a liar. Because attraction, for one, ugly is subjective because not everybody sees it the same. It depends on people's standards or their environment, what they're used to, what their fake false standards are. But to many people, they may who don't see themselves as attractive, they may see somebody else who's not attractive, but to them they are attractive because that's all they see in the mirror is this false judgment of themselves as being ugly or whatever. So it's all subjective anyway, but I'm just saying, if I'm making sense here, that there is when you're really working on yourself, man or woman, there's like a light that comes about that's attractive to people.
You're absolutely correct. You've met people like that. She's hot, but she's homely, whatever they call it. But you meet her and you're like, she's glowing. She's glowing.
Yeah.
But on just looks alone, I was just thinking about looks alone. There's a thing about like, I was just met somebody who told me about lenses. He was comparing women and lenses. How a lens that makes you really sharp, look very sharp, is like those women with the makeup and they're just like hot girls. It's like, that's fun, but would you rather marry that or marry the soft, buttery, these like soft lenses that are just softer features? Yeah. They're not so sharp and it's like, I can marry that. I can have that for a long time. But I could marry that as opposed to.
I always end up
just softer.
Yeah.
Down there back, closer to home. The girl next door.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No. To me, the sharper things are like obviously attractive, but I've realized living in Los Angeles that once you like peel the layers back, you realize that a lot of this sharpness is not natural sharpness. It's chiseled.
Oh, yeah.
It's chiseled
with money
with money
and expertise.
Like a certain type of regimen that creates these things, and then you're like, that's not
silicone.
Like it's not even natural in the first place. So I would much rather the one that seems less chiseled, but you're better
softer,
luck.
Like, I can do this every day.
Healthy is kind of pretty. Or better looking.
Totally.
And so if somebody, all things being equal, especially like young people, after a while, stuff happens to them or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a lot of, if you're working on yourself, you're taking care of yourself too.
Yeah.
Taking care of your body, and you'll be better off.
And it's evident.
Yeah.
And it's evident. So there's more, but it goes into a little bit of a different direction here, Robert Greene. But he talks about him and Steven. They talk about human beings having putting up a facade, and if that's right or wrong. So wearing a mask. Robert says to Steven that human beings are natural actors.
That's the question I have, which is keeping up appearances and the impact that has on your happiness, i.e. wearing a mask and happiness. What's the relationship?
Whoa.
I talk about it in the 48 Laws of Power, where you have to play this game in life. To me, it's a form of wisdom, which is, it's a wisdom that used to exist like in the 18th century. I read a book that had a big impact on me many years ago called The Fall of Public Man by Richard Sennett, in which he described like cafe life in London in the 18th century or France. And he was saying back then, when you entered the public arena or your cafe, you knew you were an actor. You You left the house, you put on the mask, and you had fun. You know, you knew it was like fun. It was play. You know, when you're a child, you like playing games. You like putting on costumes. You like playing your parents or some character you saw on TV. It's part of human nature. We like to play these games. We're role players. We're actors. And he was saying in the 18th century, that was just a given in life, that when you entered the public realm, you knew you were an actor. And then when you went home to your wife, your family, or your husband or wherever, you dropped the mask. You breathe a deep sigh of relief, go, now I can be who I am. Right? And it wasn't a problem. It didn't create neuroses. It didn't create this like, what's wrong with me? I don't know who I am anymore. So people now, the problem now is we don't have distance from that social realm. And so we think that if we're acting, that's who we are. But it's not. It's just that's part of being a social animal, is playing a role. Enjoy that part of life, but don't think that don't get it confused with who you are in your essence.
This is the 48 Laws of Power guy?
Yeah.
Oh. He said the problem is that the problem with people is they don't have that space with the acting and all that. I mean, simply people don't know themselves. I bet you people knew themselves a little better.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't they would not trip at all that they have to, oh, this is Susie, and oh, I know Susie a little bit, and I'm just gonna be nice to her. Like, okay, you gotta go, Susie, and that's not me, but they would not trip about that at all.
That's the point that I want to make too. Is that for one, I think that he's right in a sense that there is a certain level of mask that does get used, and that's I don't see wrong with, because that's personality. Like, to me, is like, I feel like personality is a thing that comes from, that we learn over time how to connect with people. A upbeat personality or outgoing or whatever, people tend to like you more. So you learn how to be outgoing, or you pick that up for whatever reason, and you be decent and you be proper. And I think also what happens is people sometimes don't know how to put that on, the little mask thing. And they're like, well, I'm just going to be myself, right? I'm just going to be who I am. But I also feel like that's the wrong approach too, because then you go out and do things that are improper. You're not respecting society, like playing music too loud. I'm guilty of that. Dressing a certain way that wouldn't make sense at a certain place. Like, there is like false ways a little bit that we use that aren't necessarily bad. It's just part of our personality that make for good interactions.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Totally. I mean, a lot of, as he was talking, I was thinking about how like the gays think, oh, this is who I am. Yeah. Or
perfect example.
A lot of times you're identifying too much with how you act or how you falsely present yourself, and it's not real anyway.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of times, or you started to hint at, a lot of times people will be like, I'm just going to tell the truth. I'm just going to speak what's on my mind. I'm just going to be honest. But no, you're not always supposed to say what's on your mind.
Right.
Or you don't even know what's true a lot of the time. But especially like young people getting into like adulthood.
Yeah.
I remember going through it and just not liking all that fakeness. But a lot of it is not necessarily fakeness. It's just that you hold back a little bit.
It's not fakeness. And I think that's the misconception
Wisdom,
with a lot of things. Yeah, that's exactly what I feel too. It's just like you're just learning the cues and reading the room and how to like properly conduct yourself with the public. And I feel like that's a part of what people do, even with podcasts or do different things. You have a personality that it may not necessarily be exactly how you are behind closed doors, but it's not fake. You know what I mean? It's like something that you know how to use.
Right.
And, Robert says that he said if you know who you are, then you can take the mask off, quote unquote, and just be fine. But I think the problem is that people put so much taboo on this mask thing is because they don't know who they are. So they identify with this thing that's way far from what is natural to them.
Yeah.
And then that is a mask or a fake identity. And now it becomes like this weird thing when you go home and like, wow, I was just totally just completely not myself.
All pride.
Yeah. So I think you can go too far with it maybe.
Totally.
it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. Just examining though, I'm wondering if I've ever met anyone who's had no mask at all.
Right.
And where they're like, oh wow, this person has no mask, no proper way of interfacing with people or personality or whatever, and he's just doesn't get it, and he's being. I don't know if even that person I'd say has some kind of mask. Like I don't know if I've ever met anybody with no mask.
Yeah. Right. Because
it's just like basic thing. It's like the same way we have skin. The same way we have an interface with other people, and if it's like positive, it's something you learn, or even your pathetic people. That's how you interface with people. You're like, leave me alone, or give me love, feel bad for me. It's like this basic as having skin. Like you have an interface.
It's a tool. We just use it as a tool. But I do want to say, I don't know if you guys have anything else to say on that.
People identify with me as a younger person, like teens or plus or minus. People really identify with the music they listen to. Like it becomes a point of pride with whatever sport that they're into, the style and all kinds of different things. Yeah. And some people don't really grow out of it. But your job.
That's true.
And when somebody attacks it, you feel like when somebody criticizes it, it feels like a personal attack. That's your identity that you really don't need to be taking it to the heart like that, because one, they may not mean it like that. Two, if they do, then that's their problem. Yeah. And three, you're gonna they're helping you with your mask.
Helping you recognize that you're too into this false version.
Because it's not like not knowing who you are is bad. Like just, you don't know who you are, but you know how to act a little bit.
Right.
There's like, you can like go around, now that we're using this mask, it sounds like we're on the same page with that. You could go around with this mask and have this like higher sense. I'd go around to different workplaces and I get along with people and stuff. Yeah. But there's some part of me that would know how to test that depending on the person and the situation with what I'm saying, the joke or whatever. Test that, and like, this person is aware he has a mask a little bit, and then you kind of like
you just
like it's a way of understanding that with others. Like it's cool, like it's a cool thing. It's you're missing something if you're unable to do that. You can't get along with people. Like you're missing something.
Yeah. I don't know if this relates, but there's a guy who drinks, smokes, and cusses on stream. Just a degenerate in the past, at least. He talks about his past, his life, his crimes, and all that stuff. And yet, I totally relate to him.
Yeah.
And I don't do any of those things on stream.
Yeah. But there's something like...
I think I'm thinking about what? Some people are thinking about exactly what out of those three, where in between? What's the most likely? I'm doing the math on you, man.
That's actually a good point, though, is because there is some type of like weird... realness that comes from people just being. Yeah. Like, even if it's like these things that we don't necessarily do. Right. And that's, to me, I always respect that more. Like what you're saying is, when, even though they may cuss and do these certain things, like, it still feels like appropriate. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with that.
That's just how he is. Or he may not know better than to like talk about his DUI.
That's kind of what I was thinking about when I'm thinking, like, I don't think I'd barely or know anyone without a mask. Right. And I was kind of alluding that instinctually, it feels like almost everybody respects that. Yeah. Respects people. And that's really, I don't really know anybody without a mask. Yeah. And so there is a decorum. There is a proper way. There's a way of interacting that's just positive. And then there's a really, really rare thing, seemingly, where it's like no mask. Everybody respects that. And it flouts all those rules I just mentioned. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing.
You know, the only way, the way we connect with people is what we've learned over time, what works and what doesn't. And that's what, like, I feel our personality has developed. Like, say, for example, if we're around each other enough, we just start to pick up on each other's humor or different things, and we learn how to use it in our way, you know what I mean, to where it's us. And now we just added a new, like, skill set to our personality. But really, like, when you think about it, it really doesn't even matter, but that's just how we connect with people, you know?
Firmware updates.
If there's something honest about you, it doesn't matter if you do present yourself really perfectly, because there are people, old school people, or just people who are just appropriate, but they're real.
Yeah.
They have a presentation, a mask, but it's an appropriate one.
Yeah.
And still, you can totally relate with them too.
Yeah. But this is where Robert Greene, Robert Greene goes into narcissism. That's why I asked you guys in the beginning. And he says, in his opinion, that narcissism is a good thing. And that's why I wanted to ask you guys, is it ever a good thing? Because he has an interesting perspective on this. And I want to see what you guys think and the audience about his specific details on this.
That's how I approach all of these flaws. You can't run away from them. You can't run away from your shadow, your dark side. You can make it work for you. You can make it positive and productive and healthy. You can become a healthy narcissist, which is a name that I use in the book. You can use your dark side for positive purposes. Let's say you have a lot of anger inside, and I had a lot of anger when I was younger. I was a very angry young man, right? Channel that into some kind of cause. And I have a lot of causes that I believe in very deeply. And when I was younger, I was like that. Channel that energy into something productive and helpful, and put it into something that goes to something that helps society. That's using your dark side for positive purposes. Because the dark side of human nature has a lot of creativity, has a lot of energy. An artist has to have a dark side. You use your dark side because all those dark emotions, all the people that shat on you in your life, they inspire you. They create your best work. Don't run away from your shadow. Don't run away from your narcissism. Use it in a healthy way.
Whoa.
See?
Liberalism.
Yo.
So
The laws of power. I've been doing like a whole bunch of reading on like power, sort of, because I came across one of these occult books, and I, you hear about them, like the Necronomicon and stuff, and I'm just like, the way I always thought of these books is that they were full of like incantations and witch stuff and brewing stuff, like
like wild
stuff that you'd read and be like, okay, so some guy hundreds of years ago basically wrote a comic book, okay?
Right.
Well, you read them and they're actually all about ways of living and how to get power, and the ways they get power is abstinence, morality, avoiding temptation, and I don't know. I almost feel like I sound like a book burner or something, but is this like some satanic grab power stuff? Don't you know you can do nothing? And I feel like I'm coming from a place of ego, like if I even understand what I just said, but a little on power.
So
Interesting.
So do you mean that he's coming with that perspective, or are you saying that?
I just wonder if that's why some of the esoteric people online are like, oh no, Robert Greene, laws of power, bad, satanic.
Because they believe in the other way.
I don't get scared of those things, but like the way they put it, but yeah, because it's like this ideology of grabbing power, but by your will.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyways, I feel like we're going off here.
But what was
He's
interesting?
just saying use it. Yeah, use all that. Use your
what do you
narcissism.
think? Do you agree with him saying use it?
I don't know. I would want to know what do you mean? Like, how do I use my narcissism? I'd like to know. Can you give me an example? Can we start something? Okay.
It reminds me of like, because he said his anger, he was very angry as a child, and he said that channel your anger and use it for some type of cause. But what I found, in my opinion, is that when people don't know any other way to maybe overcome, or that there's a whole nother reality, right? Like spirit and stuff like that, they tend to just use what they have and to their benefit. And I feel like what he's saying is that, like, because anger obviously, or excitement, has like an energy to it that you can use to get things done. Like that's why, like, when people get really angry and they go off on somebody, you feel good about it because it feels like you did something. You solved the problem. When it unfolds, it's all a mess anyway. But there is like a false power that comes with it. So that's what I think he's referring to. And I could be getting that part wrong, but I think he's saying that use that energy from anger, but instead of overcoming it because I don't know how, right? Let's just use it to push us forward. And I think that a lot of people have that type of mentality, and they don't want to overcome it because they don't know what else is there, if that makes sense.
It's crazy to encourage kids, young people, angry people to go and try to change society. That's so evil.
By using the energy of anger.
You have no clue about society.
Yeah.
You know, these people have done so much damage. Young people thinking that they know what they're doing or talking about, thinking that they know what's good for society, helping.
Yeah.
That's so evil. I think I get the idea, I totally get and relate to the idea of being angry or frustrated and channeling that towards energy to, say, with running. I was mad that I didn't do well, and I identified with running. I was a young person, and so I trained and tried to be really good at running.
Yeah.
It motivated partly by anger, pride.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, when you put it like that.
Yeah. That's the point.
A lot of people will like build their careers on that. And that's what you guys should do is like build your life. And know that this is not necessarily a good thing for you, this energy, so get your sleep and stuff.
Yeah.
But I really think that that's a evil, like, revolutionary type, not in a good way. I don't know if there is a good revolution.
Well, it burns. It always crashes and burns. That's the only thing.
Because I understood what you were saying.
Oh,
it's just when you put it in that example, I realized all the times I did that. I'm like, okay, wait, I actually do get it.
It makes sense. But go ahead. Is this you?
I guess that's what the mentality you get when you're focused on power.
Yeah.
You probably get a lot of things right focused on power.
Yeah.
But then, you're focused on power. Yeah, that's demonic maybe. But I feel I'm going too far into making a claim or anything about this person.
Right.
But yeah.
It crashes and burns.
You'll want to use your anger instead of trying to understand and see like, wow, I'm evil.
What I realized,
I have the wrong motivation.
No, exactly. Right. But that's the thing is that it's like a weird way of, because to me, when I hear this, it's not that they are so, and this is just my opinion, that they're so wise that they found a way to use anger. It's just that they don't know any other way. They're just trying to figure out how do I be a good person in this destructive thing? Oh, I'll use it as good, or at least I'll say I use it as good, so that way I can still. But they just don't want to say, I don't know how to stop being angry, type of thing. And the second point that I want to make too is that it always crashes and burns at the end of it, because if I use my anger, that's like saying when people make fun of me in the chat, then I gather all of this like purpose and drive to prove them wrong, and I say something or do something, and then I win, let's just say, and I prove them all wrong. Well, then now I'm back at zero. I'm back at nothing. So you got to, using your anger, you got to constantly find new ways to have this energy, and you're gonna keep crashing, and then you go up and you crash again. So it's just like a never-ending issue.
Sandcastle.
You see what exactly?
No, it's such a way of putting it, man. That kind of stuff I would latch on and it wouldn't last.
Right.
And I either didn't have enough energy or something to just really stay there too long. That's probably why I haven't achieved much, but like as a joke. But it's like, because I just never built like that. Like I'd be like, okay, I'm being silly, I guess.
But I think blessed though, because I was the same way, is that I used to hear these people say these things, and I used to try to channel. Like a lot of a few jobs ago that I had, that was the premise, is that use that little thing to make the sale. Right. Like tap into their emotions so then you can trigger a response, like all these weird things. And when I would try to do it, it would always fail. And at the time I didn't know like that I was completely wrong, but it fell off. But I'm grateful now because it just would end up me making whatever or being this type of success, but being like,
You'd
okay, now
you'd
what?
be a star right now.
You know,
You'd be a celebrity. You would be here. We'd be talking about you. We'd be making episodes about you.
right? But I
Talking so much crap.
Talking crap.
Look at this guy.
This guy is freaking.
Man, you know how when you're in high school or when the adults tell you, what are you passionate about? Find your passion. See what you wanted. What do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? Those are all that's that emotion-based drive, emotion-based purpose.
Yeah.
I remember trying to work myself up to be passionate about running. I remember trying to work myself up to be, I just need to be more passionate about it to be a real Christian.
That's so true.
I need to work up my feelings in order to get it from my brain. Because you know what's right in your brain, supposedly, but not in your heart. I need to get it from my brain to my heart. And so you just...
you tried all these
you
things
like read the Bible forever.
Yeah.
You like sing the songs and follow after the people who are lifting up their hands.
I learned that sounds twisted maybe a little bit because I learned it in Bible school or something as a kid that what you say becomes what you think, and what you think becomes what you feel. So be careful what you say.
Speak in faith, and it will be done.
Dude, so you were like trying to make yourself feel
if it was ever that simple, I would have been one of those guys. Because every time I try to do passion, like that was literally that's probably the word that I try to live by the most in certain things that I did.
Yeah.
And it would always fail. And I used to be so mad. I used to be like, why is this always failing? Why is this never working? And I would just try to be passionate more. But I didn't realize that for whatever reason, I was lucky that passion kept failing because it's the setup. It always ends up messing you up.
Just discipline is more important than that.
Yeah.
And like maybe a circumspect mindset, knowing that it's not that important, really.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I try to make myself passionate for music. They were like, you gotta pick something now. It's time to pick what you're gonna do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like, well, the only thing I like, I guess, is playing my little guitar.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to be passionate about this, right?
Yeah.
It's a mess. The only thing I felt anything for was girls, I guess.
Right.
Like,
right.
like it got me anything. Let me think. Yeah.
Hey,
freaking girls.
Freaking girls, man.
What do you
At least
guys?
back then.
What do you guys know? Literally, what do you guys think about the idea of like people getting into finding their purpose because they want to feel some sense of attachment to a passion or something they love? Because that's always talked about, like, well, make sure you find your purpose and that you love it so you can enjoy doing it and have fun doing it while you're doing it, type of thing.
That's such a messed up setup. Because you should just do what you should just do what's in front of you, you know?
Yeah.
You have a job, do the job. You know, it doesn't matter. All that stuff is, you're going to get scared that you're doing something you're supposed to be doing, thinking, oh, maybe I should be doing something else. I'm so good at so many. I'm halfway good at so many different things. I don't know what I should do. And you're going to end up lost in your head.
That's a good point. Yeah. Letting it just kind of unfold and happen.
Yeah.
Because you may be good at a lot of things, but maybe not right now, or maybe those things aren't supposed to develop.
Right.
You know, it could be attached to the ego in the false way or whatever, or for the wrong reasons. So, yeah, and I do find too that when it does unfold, you end up enjoying it. You do end up enjoying it, or in the sense that you're not attached to it to where it's like making or breaking your opinions on it. Like, oh, I hate work, or oh, I love work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it should be like that. Because, you know, a lot of people say, and I'm still unsure about this, but a lot of people say that you should just be so in love with your work. But when does work I feel like work is always work. Like there's always tedium to the work to me. You know what I mean? And tedium is not fun. So maybe I don't know. That's why I'm just asking to see what you guys think. Maybe there's some type of interest that you find not minding the tedium.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to suffer through that boredom, the tedium, or tediousness. Tedium might be the right word. Tediousness.
Felt
It's
good when
it's
it,
tedious.
So we're just gonna go with it.
Because you're supposed to. It still has to get done,
Yeah.
and you should do it, and it's only gonna get worse if you don't do it what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, if things unfold and you're doing what's in front of you to do, then you're going to be enjoying it, for the most part. But I just always wonder, like, what do people really get out of these things when they say that? Like, because even Trump says, like, if you don't love what you do, then you're not going to do it for long or it's not going to work. So then it makes me think, like, like, what does he mean by that love?
It might be just be dedicated to it enough to do what's right when you're doing it.
When you're doing it, yeah.
And also have some belief in it, in that you're not doing harm or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually you get past like paying your rent and
Yeah.
and a little you think you start ordering your life if you're anybody who believes that you can have some say, I guess, in the direction things go a little bit in your life, a little bit, I guess. You would want to order your life that way, and eventually doing what you like. I mean, even if it's not your job, though, even if it's not your job, the tedium will be elsewhere. And if you're feeling it, I mean, that's something you want to deal with.
Right. That's like an ego problem, a selfishness problem. You know how people are so spoiled that if the moment they get bored, they start to do something else. That's a lack of character on their part.
Yeah. That's
that gonna rise anywhere.
Yeah. And that's why I bring it up too, because in that book, his book, The Mastery Thing, he talks about when you find something that you enjoy doing, you deal with the tedium. The tedium is there, but you're more willing to go through it because you're driven by, the joy you have from your job.
Oh.
And I can see the part of that being like there, but to me, I don't know if tedium ever stops being tedious.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's good to be bored. It's good to face that, because that's the demon inside that just wants the entertainment.
Yeah, the pleasure. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's type of, because of so I guess what motivates you, like what kind of treasures you want to stack.
Yeah.
I can handle even the worst job, or I worked really hard to make everything around me comfortable how I want it.
Yeah.
There's something to respect about it, I guess.
Yeah. It depends on the thing. Yeah. Interesting. What do you guys think about these 14 states that are suing TikTok for for this youth addiction? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on it?
That's funny. It's like my initial reaction, they're blaming somebody else for the failure of the parents, and blaming somebody else.
Pretty clear cut.
Yeah. It's like it reminds me of these people trying to say, "Oh, Facebook is purposely trying to be addictive," and they are.
Right.
Oh, they need to have a psychologist to consult and an ethicist, a psychologist, not to exploit them, but an ethical one or something like that. But
then it's
how
like
about parents,
right? And it goes to the same exact point. Is that so? Then now what do we? So then what about candy? What about sweets?
No.
It's like, so that means that we don't.
Not my sour candy.
We ban all these things because now you're addicted to it. No, that doesn't seem like the solution.
Yeah, I mean the government really abuses this, promote the general welfare, the federal government.
Yeah.
And they use that to do all kinds of crazy things, such as like banning menthols and fruity cigarettes and vapes and stuff. Yeah. And the federal government doesn't necessarily have any place in this, and prohibiting alcohol, which I'm kind of on the fence about. You know, I've been leery on whether that was a good thing or bad thing.
What is that?
Prohibition was 100 years ago. They were you were not allowed to sell or buy or drink alcohol, basically, or possess it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so they had all these speakeasies and things. I don't know what the real story is, but consumption was down and people were healthier probably for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard prohibition like worked in that sense.
Yeah.
You know what's an interesting thing about all that though? Because even now, when you're talking about banning menthols and stuff, there's a huge subset of the population in America that would be like, yes, that person is leading correctly, representing me. And there's an interesting interface happening with the government and their agendas and what they want to do and how they achieve those by way of the people in America. There's still a semblance of a system set up. You got to vote. There's still some setup of all that. Okay,
Right.
And I heard that this TikTok stuff and so many things are just like politics and power. It has nothing to do with the public welfare. It has everything to do with the government. The U.S. government wants to coalesce control of social media and remove influences of foreign social medias. Yeah. And there's a power politics happening all over the world. Elon Musk with his ex, he got in a big spat with the Brazil guy, and because he was saying, we have our own system set up here, and we have a foreign company X influencing our people, and we don't think that's cool. Not only just influencing our people, but telling them to coup and revolt against the sitting government in Brazil, whatever you think about them. And so there's an interesting thing going on where this whole thing with TikTok is politics and power, but it's like the government's like, how do we get that power? We need to play on the people. And what are they using to play on the people? It's like the worst stuff of the American public is seemingly quite degenerated, demoralized,
right.
because the levers of power for them are abortion, legalize pot. You know what I mean? It's like that's how you control the people. Get your stuff done. It's an interesting mirror
game
and commentary on the whole thing.
Just taking sides with what's going to be popular, and
Bingo.
then using that to get in the position to where you can put the smack down on what you really want to do.
Bingo.
Interesting. Crazy.
Interesting. Yeah, that's I agree that.
In this case, these are states, not the federal government. And the states are not better necessarily. Maybe they're Republican states or maybe they're not. I don't know. But there's the social media. My complaints about the social media has very little to do with the mainstream media complaints or the federal government's.
Yeah.
Well, what are yours? I'm saying true.
Mine are promoting the gay agenda, promoting Black Lives Matter, promoting hatred of Trump, promoting the race agenda, all that stuff. Those are and the promoting the pornography and just there's all kinds of degeneracy on there.
Yeah.
And propaganda, that's more harmful than like this bullying thing. This bullying thing, like take their phone, put it away, be a man, be a man, boy.
Like Tyler, the Creator, said. What did he say? He's like, how can cyberbullying even be real? Like, close your eyes.
Yeah, like, put the phone down. That's true. It's like, how is that even a thing? But lack of guidance. But that's why, I guess there's not much to go into as far as why. I mean, it's the parents, and that's at the end of the day, it's just the parents not raising. And oftentimes, parents do that same thing, like that same type of example of channeling their anger. Is they do the same thing as to where they're like, well, I missed the mark, but I don't know how to be better. So let me blame TikTok or blame somebody else because I can't. My house is not under control. So it's just
what are they suing TikTok for? Is that
youth addiction?
And they're not.
You're not allowed to get the youth addicted. That was our job. We wanted to do that.
How are they not? Because TikTok and Instagram are the two biggest apps, right? Are the kids more on TikTok than on IG?
TikTok, I would believe. Yeah.
Well,
TikTok,
actually, I don't know.
I believe.
Probably. So.
I forget this whole thing on that.
But how are you not suing all those companies?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's that.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to get the youth addicted. That's what we want to do.
Yeah. I didn't think of it in that way that you explained it about the whole like the bigger picture of things.
Yeah.
It's all politics. It's power. Even this energy stuff. It's interesting to like Iran. Iran's a big like enemy right now, and I was and electric cars and Elon Musk is also a very big thing right now. The effect that Elon Musk has had on global geopolitics and power by getting resources focused on lithium as opposed to oil. Who has the oil? The Saudi Arabia, Iran, and there are factions coalescing that are against Iran, and Elon Musk seemingly is on that side. And it's all, dude, it's all connected, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah, EVs, Elon Musk, and oil, and changing who's controlling the world. You'd think, when they talk about climate change and EV is good for the planet, they don't care about that at all. That's the last thing they're thinking about.
Yeah.
The main things are geopolitics and how to make your people, your population, consume less, because it's getting more expensive to create energy. So you're saving the planet, but they just want you to be a cheaper citizen.
I see. So how does it play in the last question, I guess, but how does it play into TikTok or social media?
That it's not about what they're saying. It's all just power. When they say they want to protect the children from being youth addicted, no, they're just being challenged by TikTok, a foreign company, and they're going to use the power of the state and the government to get rid of this opponent. This has nothing to do with health and wellness and the children. It's all power and control.
Yeah. So is there a way? So do you think that there's let's just say American social media platforms are being used in that same way to influence the people?
Big time. That's what they want to do.
The CEOs are in bed with
do.
the government type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. And to what extent? Like for what purpose?
Yeah, I think that Facebook, Twitter, pre-Elon Musk, and maybe even to this day,
probably to this day,
Instagram, those swayed the election in a big way.
I see.
Because they say that the mainstream media, the liberal bias of the mainstream media, traditionally over the years, I heard, they sway the election liberal like 10%. 10% is what their influence has been. It's been predicted. And I bet social media just amplifies that too.
Yeah.
Especially with young people, all this, because they promote all kinds of, they were saying, get out the vote. And, it's a bunch of liberals running it. It's a bunch of liberals deciding whether this is hate speech or whether this should be censored or whatever.
Yeah.
Whether this should be promoted using the language, the algorithm, and all that stuff. It's very it's communism.
Yeah.
But when I
crazy.
say communism, it's propaganda.
Yeah.
But it's almost like
Suppression.
because they know that the average person of today just needs to see a meme to make their mind up on which way they should vote. That's the crazy thing.
time.
Is that, like, how is it that simple that that's all they need to do?
Right.
It's just,
Our minds are very simple.
yeah.
And that is the craziest secret being kept too. It's like they're like,
Facts don't matter.
it's a mad dash right now, but they're like, don't look over there. What are they dashing for? What are they dashing so hard to get? So don't look over there, but it's a mad dash for that to be able to put the right meme in front of you.
Wow.
And get you to think what they want.
Memes helped Trump win. I think they say that's what people say.
First election where the
meme
phone
makers.
First election 2016 in America where the phone was ubiquitous.
Yeah.
More than half of Americans had a smartphone. And so they're getting stuff and they're getting alternative information.
Yeah.
A lot of times memes are true, because it's a simplified and simple message, simplistic perhaps, but oftentimes they're true.
Yeah.
And that's why they want to clamp down on memes.
Big time.
And they threw that one guy in jail over his, how many blacks did he really fool? Text your vote for Hillary Clinton.
Dang.
And so
Ricky Bond.
Yeah.
Right? Or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Interesting. Well, I think we about did it there. My last question is, how do we end this?
This is the song that has an end. Yes, it goes on, my friend. Oh, no. Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever just because this is the song that does it.
Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Hit the button over here. Subscribe over there. Ring the bell over
I'm not doing all that editing with all this. That's not gonna pop up over there. It's not gonna pop up.
Ain't nothing popping up. And the people like, where? Just hit the button. Y'all know what to do. Bye.
But you didn't say to Punchie TV, but I'll put that up. Punchie TV.
I ain't know I was supposed to say that.
You to subscribe to Punchie TV.
Oh.
But that's fine.
But they know they're looking at Punchie
I
TV.
know, that's fine.
We'll put that in the edit. That part, that little conversation.
Yeah, put that in there.
Did you see my little thing that I sent you?
You sent
about
that
the
to me,
Joker?
yeah. Tall Phillips and clarifying that Arthur Fleck was never the Joker.
The Joker.
I'm like, I knew it.
was that like obvious to you though?
No. But I mean, the way it ended is what pissed everybody off. The way the second one ended. But when I saw the ending, it didn't piss me off. I got it. Like it's a big homage to the true origins or the truly mysterious origins of the Joker. That there is no origin. That he could be anybody. That it's a spirit. And that it appears in right. And so that's how it pissed a lot of people off. I guess they wanted to see the Joker win.
Yeah.
But the Joker is, I don't know.
Isn't he supposed to be a bad guy?
He's the bad guy. Yeah. Call me old fashioned.
Right.
Wow.
Out of like all the takes on Joker so far, it's better than most.
Jack Nicholson?
Okay, now you're bringing in the serious Jokers. Okay, let's calm down.
Mark Hamill?
Okay, see, it's up there, man. It's up.
Nice.
It's unique in just its execution and the storytelling.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when I seen one,
And Joaquin too.
when I
Yeah.
seen
I can't say he's too memorable, but just his overall Joker. It's like I think about it.
Okay.
Yeah, the approach of one. I don't know if it's the same guy who did the one.
Same guy.
The approach of one. I remember doing a review when it first came out. I didn't have a podcast then, but I remember doing it back there, and the light was off, so I was dark on my YouTube channel. But I
Is it still on
remember.
your YouTube?
I think it's still up there.
Nice.
But I remember doing and I don't usually do those things, but I
remember this.
doing it because I was so
I've seen this.
interested. I was intrigued by how good the interpretation was. Because I've seen Dark Knight like 100 times, and like it never gets old to me. And I always root for the hero, but in Dark Knight I just freaking love the Joker so much. I mainly watch it for freaking
He's
Joker.
incredible.
So
Yes, destroy the world.
I went into the Joker one thinking that I was going to be mad or like be like let's see what he really does. But the way they presented it and the way they did it from day one, how it started and where it came from, and his mom's influence and all this stuff, like they really laid it out. So I thought it was done
dark and
Dark,
more real.
Real, right?
Yeah.
It's gritty, but without the
Exactly.
gravel. Like totally gritty, but
Yeah.
like, damn, that's the guy down the hallway,
Yeah,
or me.
yeah.
Crazy.
Right?
Margaret Robbie? Margaret Robbie or Lady Gaga?
They should have.
Oh, as her. They should have drained more oddness out of Lady Gaga
Yeah.
for Harley. Like I
Totally.
feel like they could have really like made it like creepier, and they should have made it creepier because Lady Gaga is like the perfect person to do that because she's that way in real life.
Right.
Like, or at least
No, I thought she was a good
on
cast.
stage. On stage, she's that way. She's real creepy, and she plays that role in entertainment very well. So I just felt like the parts that I did see, like I wanted it to be drawn more on her being creepy and weird than her being singy-songy
Totally.
Yeah,
and
okay.
dancey.
Like we
Yeah.
never really got the madness of
Yeah, that's what I
Joker and,
wanted.
and Harley
Exactly.
Quinn and their mad relationship. But
Yeah.
the more I think about it, the more time passes. Maybe that's what Todd wanted. Where it was just
Yeah.
like, this could be a real relationship.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Right on.